In tonight's episode, we have a good chat about the Luteces, who they are, what they're about, what their role is, and why they're always so blooming confusing. We talk a little bit about why Elizabeth is always so safe during combat, and whether that's a plotline device or just a gameplay one. And lastly, during a quiet moment, we have a good chat about some of the thematic ideas in Bioshock Infinite and the ones that reoccur in previous games. This is Bioshock Infinite Explained. Well, greetings and welcome back to Bioshock Infinite Explained. My name is TheAdipose, and I have been your host and guide throughout the last 50 hours of gameplay. And it has always been our goal to not just walk us through the game, but to explain the plot line, to discuss the links between the characters, to talk about all the hidden meanings, multiverses, and all the rest of it. So there will be spoilers, as always, right from the start. So if you haven't yet played through the game, please go and do that before you watch this series. Now, in one of the previous videos, I pointed out that Elizabeth at various points just seems to kind of run through hails of bullets and survives absolutely fine. And this sparked off quite a lot of debate amongst you guys in the comment section. Now, there is a Vox earlier that says, earlier in the game, that says anyone that harms Elizabeth is going to be for the high jump, and the bird will probably be set on them if they do anything like that. So the first possible explanation could simply be that the reason why she's able to walk through all these bullets without being hurt is because all of Comstock's men are deliberately missing. All of the policemen are deliberately missing because they know if they hit her, then they're going to be in trouble. But of course, that wouldn't apply to these guys that we're currently fighting now. The Vox, it wouldn't apply to perhaps Fink's men, although they may be aware of the implications of their actions. But certainly once we get to the second half of the game and we're fighting Vox robots, Vox men, they wouldn't be scared of the bird. They wouldn't know about Comstock's instruction. In fact, it's entirely possible that they might not actually know who she is. Now, let's of course remember that there is another Booker floating around, a Booker who may well have explained who she is and why she's important and why she's not to be harmed. Okay, fair enough. But then remember that Daisy's last instruction was that these are imposters and therefore they should be killed. And I believe her instruction is kill these imposters, plural. Therefore, again, she should be under threat. Now, of course, this is a game, not a book, not a film. Therefore, it simply may be a gameplay mechanic. And I'm sure we all remember games whereby missions where you have to accompany someone and they keep dying is a complete pain in the butt. So I am not in any way complaining that she is invulnerable, and I'm not complaining that she cannot be harmed. But from a storyline perspective, it would be nice to have another kind of explanation here as to why she is immune from their attacks. Although one possible explanation might simply be that we're the ones running around with a gun and the machine gun and the rockets, and we're the ones shooting them, whereas she's just kind of the person that's following me around. So a simple explanation simply might be that we are the bigger threat, and therefore anyone that sees us is likely to attack us first, not her. So therefore she is the least lethal target. But if you've got any thoughts on that one, or other kind of potential explanations as for why she isn't targeted, then do stick them in the comment section below, and we will debate this one further. I kind of like the idea that maybe, if she was being shot by a bullet, that she'd somehow open up a tear and send it to another little world and dimension anyway. And with that little battle complete, let us head up towards Comstock House.
I just realized who those two are. They, well, at least she, invented the technology that allows the city to float.
Giant balloons.
Quantum particles, suspended in space-time at a fixed height.
So, not giant balloons?
But the thing is, my book said they disappeared several years ago.
I told you they'd come.
No, you didn't.
Right. I was going to tell you they'd come.
But you didn't.
But I don't.
You sure that's right?
Something tells me they're not exactly what they appear.
I was going to have told you they'd come.
No,
The subjunctive?
that's not the subjunctive.
I don't think the syntax has been invented yet.
It would have had to have it been.
Had to have had been. That can't be right.
They seem to want to help.
They seem to be out of their
Odd,
minds.
isn't it?
What's odd?
The fact that we sometimes...
Finish each other's sentences.
Exactly.
It would be odder if we didn't.
How do you suppose they manage that?
I'll get back to you after I figure out the floating city bit.
Okay, so for funsies, let's try and decode all of the Lutece information we've got there. First of all, remember Luteces are the same person.
Comstock House is up ahead.
They're not brother and sister, they are the same person. So that bit about, well, if we finish each other's sentences, oh, it'd be weird if we didn't, that's literally because they're the same person. Like, why? Of course they're able to finish each other's sentences, they are the same guy. That also explains, whoops, didn't mean to fire that. That also explains why when the male Lutece is drawing the female Lutece, he actually has a picture of himself there. It's a kind of a hint to the fact that she is him. There is a slight difference though between their personalities, because as we find out that he is the one that's actually interested in kind of undoing the big mess they get into, and she is not.
Prophet shall sit the throne. He was grooming me, wasn't he?
Comstock? Yeah, I think so.
Why lock me up?
Well, I'm guessing you didn't want to be groomed. Maybe he had something in the works to make you agreeable.
Like what?
I think it's best we don't find out.
So there are some minor differences between their personalities. There was also a bit where they started going on about, well, I was going to say that, and then I didn't say that, but I don't say that. I mean, that actually is a nice kind of link back right to the beginning of the game, if you remember the whole debate about the whole he doesn't row thing. And I think what we can gather from there is they're debating, how do you describe it if someone was going to do something, was going to do something, but then doesn't do something because they are no longer going to say it because the other person already knows what they were going to say. Yep, I think I've said that right. So he was going to say that, but now he doesn't need to say that because she's already said that he was going to say it. So would he say I was going to say that, or I don't say that, or I doesn't say that? It's a bit of a linguistic problem, which is one they were kind of chewing over themselves.
Look at him now.
And we've got some little buddies here. These guys have got a little more hardy. I thought a headshot would have finished them off, but apparently not. Ow. Also in our second little bit of dialogue there, we had Booker and... Oh, I should have flamed them. They were standing in oil. Booker and Lizzie were discussing the fact that she is the seed of the prophet, and that she is very likely to be, taking over from him. And they correctly identify that he has another kind of plan for her. To try and force her to be what he becomes, and unfortunately, of course, that does happen to Elizabeth. After we lose her, she ends up getting kind of modified through a mixture of surgery and brainwashing and things like that. Yes, I want your money. I thought there would be something nicer in here, but I see no nothing. Hailfire! And some rope. Unless I've missed like a piece of gear down the side of here, I think there's not a lot. Although I'm not going to exchange weapons at this point in the game. Now, last episode we were discussing the use of religion in games. Let me just quickly scan this to see if there's anything that I want for myself. Machine gun. Nope. Reload speed, but for 600, it's quite a lot of wealth just for an extra little bit of mauler. But what I might take, if it's around, is there a sniper rifle damage boost? Yes, there is. I think I might take that because... Later on, we might need it for the siren.
Cut off your head.
How rude! I wasn't even looking that way. And now I have completely lost my chain of thought. But let me just check this. Undertow. No. I do quite like that though. Ability to chain lightning, but nothing that boosts the ones that we're using. Although I use crows quite a lot. Increases stun duration. Why is it saying no sale? Oh, I haven't got enough. Right. Okay. Well, that answers that question. That's fairly simple. Anywho, I was talking about religion in games. We were talking about whether it is offensive or not to have that scene of baptism. Thank you so much for so many of your comments on that particular video. You had some of you thought that it wasn't offensive, and they thought that there should be no barriers at all on the use of religion in games. Others of you kind of understood the perspective where other people had come from. Let's listen to this vox, and then I shall continue my discussion. It is Mr. Downs.
Mr. Comstock, when we next meet, it won't be to parley. See, I went out to that Hall of Heroes to scalp your false shepherd for you. Turns out, though, DeWitt speaks Sioux. He helped me to swap words with this crippled child I've been, looking after. Now, after hearing how the kid has fared in your city, I'm thinking when we take your pelt, I'll let him hold the knife.
Okay, so there is the change of Mr. Money. Here is the change of of Preston, helped by us, no doubt, or no less. Although not.
Can you open this, Elizabeth?
Not the us that we know, but the us of this particular reality. So I just grab some of these. Thank you. Let's have a nice little look around. Anyway, yes, we were talking about religion in games. After I finished yesterday's or last week's video, I realised that, of course, religion has been done quite regularly in games, specifically the Civilization series. And obviously, I realised that there's a big difference between the Bioshock games and the Civilization. You know, it may well be that the people watching this wouldn't be Civilization players, but for those of you that are or are interested, okay, I'm looking out. Okay, come on, someone, anyone. I realised. Oh, hang on, there's someone behind that. I realised that the Civilization games, as well as just developing your own civilization, you can choose what faith you actually want your civilization to be. Ow! And they're actually all six. I think all six and even more of the world's main religions are actually represented in that. There's Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Sikhism, even like Confucianism and Buddhism and things like that. And no one's been particularly offended. I don't recall any news articles about that. So it definitely is. Let's see. It definitely is possible to do religion in video games without it causing masses of offence or controversy. Although one of you guys mentioned in the comments section that it wasn't the fact that baptism was included that upset the gentleman who turned his game, but it was the fact that the baptism was forced upon the player, like there was no way to avoid it. And I guess I kind of can understand that one to an extent, because whenever I play games like Fallout, and where you get the moral choices, and I love having those moral choices, you know, the idea of, do you want to be good, do you want to be bad type stuff. I nearly always choose good, perhaps with a little bit of thievery here and there. Same on the Skyrim type games, but morally I get very. I don't really get any pleasure from being nasty to people in computer games. It just feels a bit uncomfortable to me, and for that's one of the reasons actually why I didn't really get very far in Grand Theft Auto 4. I felt that it almost forced you to be the bad guy and forced you to do things that were rather unpleasant to people, and actually I just found that whole thing a bit distasteful. So whilst I'm not sure I agree with the guy that took the game back because of the baptism thing, I do understand that the whole forced to be baptized issue could possibly make a difference for someone. as I might not have actually got as far in the Fallout games as I did. So I thought there was a secret entrance around here, behind the cash register, but maybe I'm being premature. Yeah, maybe I wouldn't have got as far in those games had I been forced to behave in a way that I was a little bit uncomfortable with. Speaking of Fallout, Whoa! Flames! Everything is going boom! Whoops! Will you? I think you're gonna blow. Bit of explosive family fun there. Anyway, speaking of Fallout, a few weeks ago I did actually record the first 4 episodes of a role-played Fallout 3 playthrough, and some of you were nice enough to watch that for me and give me some feedback on it. I eventually decided not to unleash it on the world after that, but it was quite good fun, so I may return to that series in the future. Anyway, back to the Bioshock. Here's a bit of a brain teaser for you as I explore this lovely little area here. Oh, lovely lighting on her. How do we know that the Anna, or the Elizabeth, in this universe is actually the birth daughter of this particular Booker? Because the argument has been made that this is not Comstock's daughter, that this is Booker's daughter, but of course how do we know that this particular it is this particular Booker that is paired up with this particular Elizabeth? And in fact, as we travel from universe to universe, at least 3 times, surely that means in fact we're actually in a location where 3 different Elizabeths from 3 different Comstocks have been taken from 3 different Bookers in other places. Do you see where I'm going with this? So it's entirely possible that we are actually very carefully here rescuing the child of another man, and our daughter is still in fact in another universe. Now of course,
Need money?
I love money. I always love money, especially catching it heads up. Always heads up. It's entirely... That's how I like to be welcomed to places.
Your lives are ours.
So we start a little fight. And while we have our little fight, I would like to take the opportunity to talk about some of the other themes that kind of come up in the Bioshock games. Much has been made of the end comments in the game, where Elizabeth says in the very final scene with all the lighthouses in different worlds that there's always a man, there's always a city, there's always a lighthouse. It may be in a slightly different order, but the principle is that all the Bioshock games so far we've always had game starting at a lighthouse, some sort of man that's either in control of the city or a man that's trying to take over it, or that's like visiting the city. Actually, it must be the second one, because the second game had a female enemy in it. And there's always a lighthouse. Now, some of you guys in the comment sections have suggested that we extend that. That there isn't just a city and a man and a lighthouse. Some people have suggested actually that we can actually make that list a little bit longer. We can say, well, there's always a city, be it Rapture or be it Columbia. There's always a man, be it Booker or the characters in the first game. There's always the lighthouse, which now appears not just to be an entrance to the city, but also doorways to different universes and things like that. But there's also always a child of some kind. Now, in Bioshock Infinite, that's clearly Elizabeth. In the first Bioshock, you are the child to an extent, plus all the little sisters and things like that. And in the middle game of Bioshock 2, of course, you are the father to the girl that you spend most of the game kind of running after. So another theme that comes through these games is this idea of parenthood. And another possible theme throughout the games is not just that there is a child in the game, but one of the strong driving forces of emotions in these games is the emotion, if you like, of parenthood. I mean, Comstock's big motivation in this is desiring a child. Booker's big motivation, unseen motivation, is to rescue or to kind of recover from giving his child away. All of the big daddies in the original games were protective of child. So this idea of kind of parenthood and parental attachment and the deeds it drives the people to is a strong theme throughout the Bioshock games. Perhaps even bringing in Lady Comstock as well. You know, the reason she falls out with. Why Lady Comstock falls out with Prophet Comstock is because of their differing views on parenthood and things like that. So that'll be an interesting one to see, assuming that there is another Bioshock game, whether that is a theme that continues there as well. Now, another theme that comes up, as well as our city and our man and our lighthouse and our child, is also that perhaps all of the places that we go to suffer from some form of revolution as well. It's not enough for there just to be a city in each one. There's always some form of civil war that takes place. Now, I'm not so sure that in the first two games would necessarily go as far as to say that there is civil war, but there's certainly riots, and there's certainly certainly the social structure of each city breaks down. I mean, this one definitely is a revolution. We've got all the propaganda, we've got all the posters, we've got a revolutionary leader and all that kind of stuff. But certainly there's always this idea that whichever city there is, always goes horribly wrong. Now, in many ways, of course, that is just a gameplay device, because if the city doesn't go horribly wrong and full of various different bad guys, then there would be no one to shoot, like we're busy doing now with all these firemen. So it's perhaps as much a required gameplay mechanic as it is a plotline device that we do need the city to to go to hell at some point. So we've actually got some enemies to fight. And I suppose the last theme that we can bring in, especially with Bioshock 1 and Bioshock 3, which are of course the ones made by Ken Levine, excuse me if I'm pronouncing that name wrong, is some form of major plotline twist taking place at some point in the game. And if you haven't played Bioshock 1, I won't spoil that one for you, but obviously the kind of twist towards the end of this one is the identity and relationship and link between Comstock and Booker. Now, plotline twists are great when they work really, really well, and I'm sure that in future games, we'll always be looking for that plotline twist, but that can always be as much as a kind of a poisoned chalice, as well as something to aim for. Because I remember when I'm probably going to pronounce his surname wrong, but the M. Night Shyamalan movies, you know, when you had like Sixth Sense and Signs and Unbreakable, his set of movies became renowned for having twists in them that changed the outlook on the game, on the movie in some way. And the twists were great for those first three movies, but that really became something of a everyone then expected the twist, and he had to work harder and harder to kind of have the twist. And I remember when he kind of got to movies like The Village and is it Lady in the Lake, something like that, the twists weren't very good, they weren't particularly shocking, and they ended up just kind of being almost there for the sake of it. So I do hope that future Bioshock movies have games do have twists in them, but only so far as those twists actually add to the plotline, rather than taking away from it or just being there for the heck of it. Well, that was a bit of a scrap, wasn't it? But we have survived, and we have another little Vox to play with.
The Lutece field entangled my quantum atom with waves of light, allowing for safe measurement. Sound familiar, brother? That's because you were measuring precisely the same atom from a neighboring world. We used the universe as a telegraph. Switching the field on or off became dots and dashes. Dreadfully slow, but now you and I could whisper through the wall.
Now, a couple of questions to answer about that particular Vox phone. Firstly, who's she speaking to? Well, it's Lutece speaking to the other Lutece. Secondly, she's explaining how the whole universe thing, multi-universe thing, kind of began in terms of her experiments. And when she talks about whispering through the wall, she's talking about communicating from one universe to the other. But I think the most interesting question to ask is, well, why is she recording this? And the answer to that is because the male Lutece is the one that changed universe. when he changed universe, his memories got all mixed up, and he got all confused. And you hear from some of the other Vox phones that he doesn't really kind of know what's going on. And those Vox phones there are her attempt to help him remember kind of what's what. Is that some interesting stuff up there? Should we have a little look? So that's like her kind of little biography log to him to kind of say, hey, do you remember when we did this? Do you remember when we did that? But it also helps to kind of fill in the blanks for us about how they kind of got together and their history. And one other thing I should mention about the scene at the beginning of this video where we were... that sounds like something still alive, doesn't it? Where they were kind of they were doing the art, and then they were doing the baseball and stuff like that, is because they are now trapped between the universe, you know, attempted to be murdered by Comstock and his cronies. That basically means they can be anywhere at any time doing anything they want, which it kind of makes them omnipresent to an extent, to use a philosophical term. It's not. They're clearly not omnipotent, meaning all powerful. Because if they were, and they were desperate to undo Comstock's work, they could just go and do that themselves. But certainly having the ability to be anywhere at any point and influence anything at any time is certainly a very useful little power for them. Let's
open it.
Sure
yep,
thing.
I'll take the cover option. Oh, ow, that hurt.
Here you go.
Whoa, let's get out of here. Oh my god. Oh, we very, very nearly died.
I'll keep my eyes open for more.
Son of a...
Don't die.
Well, that didn't go well, did it? You wanna play sniping? Yeah? Well, don't try it with me. I'm going to assume that that flashing entrance there means that this is the point of no return. But there was a wee freight hook up there which might allow me to get to where those sniper guys, dudes and dudettes were.
Sure thing. Go on without me.
I'll be okay. Don't think we've got anything new there. But another way of kind of looking at that argument from earlier about whether Elizabeth is actually our daughter is, you know, is she actually any more our daughter, our Booker's daughter, than Comstock's? But you know, by kind of attempting.
Okay.
Attempting to kind of take her away from him, are we actually doing the same thing that he did to another Booker at another time?
This open.
Okay.
It is entirely possible, of course, that perhaps Anna is the daughter of the very, very first Booker that the Luteces bring to this version of Columbia. But as we talked about earlier, the chances are that he is long gone in the first kind of. From the first time we died. Let's let Lutece fill us in some more.
Brother, what Comstock failed to understand is that our contraption is a window not into prophecy, but probability. But his money means the Lutece field could become the Lutece tear, a window between worlds, a window through which you and I might finally be together.
Now, I find that idea quite interesting, because it in some ways undoes the understanding that we've had in previous games. Because she's saying that these tears are not tears into reality, but probability. So that would imply that the things that the alternative universes that
Hey, don't point that at me.
Elizabeth takes to. I'm sorry, I was making a point. It are not necessarily things that are, but things that are potentially.
Check out downstairs.
Oh crap.
And out.
Do love possession.
The bastard snuck in while the Vox was shooting up the place and took my girl. Got her locked up in the salty Oyster, his hidden closet he keeps all his treasures. Just need to hit the button under the register to open it, but...
I actually missed this one last time. I picked up that Vox but I never quite worked out what it referred to, but it must refer back to that salty Oyster bar that we were in a few short moments ago. So I think what I'll do here is I will cut the vid and restart when I get back to that particular location. And here we are, back at the wee Oyster. Now, something to do with a button under the cash register. Aha, which will be that.
Button under the register.
I already pressed it. Oh, what did that open? Opened a fat load of nothing. Oh, maybe it's where she is. Ooh.
Really? We just risked our lives for a bit of titillation?
I think I knew her. Worked at a bar on Houston Street.
I bet you did.
I wonder if that I think I knew her is actually one of those, like, I was married to her and she's your mum type moments. I wonder if the Vox phone here, which I must have never listened to before, will shed any light upon it.
You have been transfused, brother, into a new reality. But your body rejects the cognitive dissonance through confusion and hemorrhage. But we are together, and I will mend you. For what separates us now but a single chromosome?
Ah, good. So she's just kind of confirming the stuff I was chatting about before, about how he's a little bit mucked up, but she's going to sort him out. Right, now return to sender. I believe is going to be very, very helpful for us in the final battle. Obviously, I've completed the game on normal difficulty before. That's some seriously crazy stuff going on with our hands. But I have read online that there's a very useful technique at the end to use this shield technique to protect the final engine of the ship we're on.
Hold and release to create an explosive trap.
Press B to drop a shield. Hold B to carry the shield in front of you. Holding the shield drains some salt. So there we are, some lovely little freebies. Now, will we have to
Do it now.
You bet!
Looks like we're going to have to fight our way back out of here. Which might be a nice opportunity to test out the new little thing. He's dead.
Still need this?
Much obliged.
One thing I'll say about this, like you don't really need to look down the sights. I mean, I was actually quite accurate there from quite a distance away, which does make the whole looking down the sights thing rather pointless. Whereas my my battlefield brain is constantly telling me that I must look down the sight, but you really don't need to with this one. You're quite lethal without it. The only thing that really forces you to look down there is that piece of gear that gives you extra damage for looking down the sight, but we kind of got rid of that because it didn't work with all the shotgun stuff. Anywho, this is probably going to be a good place for us to leave our episode, what do we have, whatever we're on now, 307 of Bioshock Infinite Explained. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you found it interesting and engaging, and it looks like I'm going to get attacked again. Please give the video a like if you have enjoyed watching it, and if you have not yet subscribed to TheAdiposeTV, please do hit that button. And remember, you can follow me on Twitter as well to check out all the latest releases. And I've also, as one of you guys pointed out the other day, I do have a Steam group. If you are a PC player and you want to hook up with Addy and maybe even play some games together sometimes, you can join me on there and we can get chatting. So thanks a lot for watching, and after I take out this little dude, then I will see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.